podcast that floats down here.
Hi, I'm Melissa, your Stephen King veteran.
Hi, I'm Ben, the Stephen King and horror film fanboy.
And hello, I'm Luke, your first-time Stephen King reader.
Hello, and welcome to the podcast that floats down here. Tonight we're discussing Stephen King's It, Part 5, The Ritual of Chode, chapter number 23, Out. This chapter was 25 pages long and 2.29% of the book. So let's just jump right into it, and we start off with our first section, which is another multi-page paragraph. Multi-page paragraph discussing what's going on, the upsides of town there. Melissa, I like your note first there.
So, Zittner, I don't know his first name, but Zittner says hell's going to freeze over before the streets would collapse from the flood. And all I could think was, okay, I'm going to let you think that. You go right ahead, Mr. Zittner. Spoiler alert. He's not much long for this world, but okay, there's Zittner, man.
Alfred Zittner.
Luke, go ahead. What's your thought?
I didn't have a whole lot on this section. I had a nit to pick. There's a mistake in here, and it's one that I have to call out. It says the water was now less than 3 inches below the top of the canal's cement walls. Nobody has ever made a cement wall before. Nobody has ever made a cement sidewalk. You make concrete walls. You make concrete sidewalks. That'd be like saying, hey, I love this loaf of flour that I just baked. No, you made a loaf of bread. Cement's a big part of concrete. It's one of the major ingredients, but don't use cement as something that you are walking on or anything. So it just bothers me.
Understandable.
And when people say, oh, there goes a cement truck, you likely have never seen a cement truck in your life unless you've been to a cement plant. You see concrete mixers. And now I'm done. But that was my main note for this section, in all honesty. I have one more in a little bit, but...
No, that's fair. I think ours kind of ties into each other. But we get the description of Andrew Keene at the standpipe. And, it says, had Andrew been downhill side of the standpipe, he would have exited the world in no time. But God favors drunks, small children, and the cataclysmically stoned. Which, I love that line. And we already saw, in this section, this section in the previous chapter, we get that. Because we had him favoring the drunk of, what was his name, Luke?
Vogers Taliendo.
Mm-hmm. And later on, we find out that Bill's friend, Bill has a friend still. So, I think that's a fair line. You have to either be drunk, a child, or cataclysmically stoned, and you're safe.
It's always funny, like, when you're going through the Kindle, and because you can do like an X-ray thing that shows you what other people have highlighted, and when they're like when you see a line that's been highlighted so many times, it just automatically tells you that this line's been highlighted 1,391 times.
Oh my God!
I never knew. I
it only pops up sometimes, like on the really, really big ones, and this is apparently one of the really, really big quotable things from this book. So you're not alone.
No, fair. I never noticed that, but good to know for future reference.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And so right after that, Andrew Keene is standing there, and he says, "Great fucking special effects," as he sees water rolling over Memorial Park like a solid thing, sweeping away the sundial beside which a small boy named Sanuris had often watched birds with his father's field glasses. Steven Spielberg, eat your heart out. I just loved that call out to somebody that, even at this point, I bet they knew each other. I mean, I would imagine mid-80s, Stephen King knew Steven Spielberg at this point. And it's just kind of a call out to his buddy, is my guess. But either way, it also just makes sense for what's going on. But I like when there's been so many of those throughout the entire book since chapter 1, like call outs to specific
Pop culture.
and products, and there's a lot of that in this chapter as well. But just in general, I always think that's nice when that's in there. Gives good context.
No, definitely.
Really quick, according to the AV Club, Steven Spielberg's been trying to work with Stephen King for a very long time now, and Spielberg has spent at least 36 years wanting to collaborate with a prolific author. Despite a few close calls, it has simply never happened.
Okay.
Fair enough.
So they've heard of each other.
Yeah, and Spielberg talks about King like a separated at birth twin.
And I could see that. They're both very dynamic creators, memorable stuff, and have had some flops in their time, but they've both overcome those as well. So,
and I just honestly, I mean, I wasn't there, but seems like they were both highly prolific around the same time period in the early mid 80s. I mean, some of the biggest stories that
even the 70s, that's when King started writing, and that's when like, you know what
Jaws,
I mean? And like just all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark and all that. So yeah. So all right, we're gonna move on to section 2, The Kill, 10:02 a.m., May 31st, 1985. Bill and Richie are in deep with it. Luke, I'll let you go ahead with your first thought there.
So as they're chasing it and it's fighting back and all these things, it's trying to defend itself, right? And he's saying, let me go. You can have everything you wanted. I can give you your wife back. I can do it. Only she'll remember nothing as the 7 of you remembered nothing. That just made me think, like, I don't think we've had confirmation one way or the other if it was specifically Pennywise that did something to erase their memories from the time. I don't know. It's just like, did he cause that? Is he able to cause that? It's just interesting that he says that himself, or itself, I should say, because it's really a herself. I apologize. But I don't know. I thought that was a really interesting thing of, like, was it responsible for the memory lapse?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I took the same line and went a very different spin on it. Very different. So another thing that it says in that vein is, let me go and you can have everything you've ever wanted. Money, fame, fortune, power. I can give you those things. Right?
Mm-hmm.
This is it basically begging by offering. Well, here's what I heard in the back of my brain. I had strong flashbacks to Indigo Montoya and the man, Count Rugen, and here's the conversation. Indigo Montoya, offer me money. Yes. Power too. Promise me that. All that I have and more, please. Indigo Montoya, offer me everything I ask for. Count Rugen, anything you want. Indigo Montoya, I want my father back, you son of a bitch. That's what I hear when you've got it going, I will give you this, I will give you this, I will give you this. And Bill's just like, I want my brother. You know what I mean? Like, for him, that was the first thing. And then all the other stuff he's taken, obviously. But
yeah, now he does kind of play into that a bit where he's like, I can give you your wife back. I can do it. Only I. Right. She'll remember nothing as the 7 of you remembered nothing. So he does try to play up that card as well. But at this point, it doesn't really fucking matter.
No, because that's just desperate.
Yeah, so go ahead with your next note there, Melissa.
It was nice to finally hear the voice of the other. We have no idea what it is. We have no idea where it comes from. But it's nice that the other really does exist and that it talks. Son, you did real good.
Yeah, no, I like that. And the audiobook author puts a nice little 50s flair to it. I don't know if you got that feeling, Luke, but it's almost like that, son, you did real good. Kind of like 50s James Dean-ish tone. I like that addition.
Yeah, a little bit. I got that.
Yeah. Luke, what's because mine and yours kind of tie together.
So yeah, go ahead and start with yours, actually.
Okay, yeah. So my only note for this section, well, that's one way to do it. Just dive into his guts. Apparently, that's the way you get in. Just go head first. And again, it's kind of the Bill's mantra: head first towards the devil. It's kind of death wish. All he's got left is to throw himself at the danger, and It works.
Yeah, and the other thing I kind of noticed was he forces himself not to be distracted by Richie being there, because he hears Richie as he's doing this, and he's thrusting his fists. It says thrust his fists into, basically into. Bill suddenly thrust both fisted hands forward. He was choking, strangling in its pulsing bag of guts and water. So that's gross, but I thought it was an interesting call out to thrust his fist against the posts. I don't know if there's something along with that, but then the still insists he sees the ghost. It's more of like the belief that he can actually do it kind of thing, like insisting that he can get in here and take care of this, and that's the only reason he's able to. And there's like a falter at one point, but he pushes through, and then as soon as he actually gets his hands on, and suddenly it was in his hands, a great living thing that pumped and pulsed against his palms, pushing them back and forth. No, 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 no! That was it speaking. Yes, Bill cried, choking, drowning. Yes, yes, this, you bitch. Try this one out. Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you? Just, it's a pretty good scene, and I like your point of it's very Bill of diving right in, head racing the devil, and just going after it.
Yeah, and so he literally grabs his heart and squeezes the life out of it. It's gonna explode. Almost anticlimactic, almost, not entirely, but
I'm gonna say quite anticlimactic for me.
Fair. And I can't decide. Like, I like it because we've gone through this long thing. It needs to just be done, but it's a little on the anticlimactic side. But I think it was still well done. The emotion behind it and everything, it worked. So, if anybody's got anything else, we'll move on to section 3, Derry 10 a.m. to 10:15 a.m. And we learn Derry's...
Bye-bye, Derry.
Yeah, Derry go down the hole.
Oh, so true and well played.
And for once, not one actually pre-typed. It was just there came to me. Anyway, my only note for this,
like it on the spot, funny. That was actually funny.
I
Good
know,
job.
which does not happen. But my one note that I do have written down there goes good old Paul. And I like the line of, at the same time, Statue of Paul Bunyan in front of the city center exploded. It was as if the long ago art teacher's threat to blow it up finally proved to be dead serious after all. That I like to call out back to the art teacher who was like, this is such an abomination to actual art. Just like, fuck it, it's gone.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to miss the old statue there, right?
Yeah.
The plastic statue.
Yeah, exactly. Melissa, what are your notes on this section?
Well, okay, so I'm actually looking something up quickly. Okay, so I'm going to jump books on you for a second. Sorry. The statue of Paul Bunyan, it explodes, right? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
The statue's midsection blew out in a cloud of shrapnel, and the head of the plastic axe rose into the rainy sky, disappeared, and then came down again, twirling end over end. It sheared through the roof of the kissing bridge, and then its floor.
One leg kicked forward, the other back, as if Paul had attempted some sort of split so enthusiastic it resulted in dismemberment.
Okay, so here's my concern with that. There's a book set in Derry, Maine, set about 10 years, 15 years post it.
Okay, so 95-ish?
Yeah,
mid-90s.
I don't know, mid-90s. I believe the statue of Paul Bunyan is in the town of Derry, Maine, in this book, which is set 10 years, I think, after it explodes. So when we read it next summer, stay tuned, folks. When we read this book next summer, I want you guys to look for the statue of Paul Bunyan.
Okay, all right.
I'll even give you the title of the book when we get there. It's called Insomnia.
Okay. And now, but here's the thing. Remember, Derry was an old logging town. And so Paul Bunyan is kind of the patron saint of loggers. It's reasonable to believe they may have rebuilt.
And that's what I'm wondering, because there was nothing in here that says they're rebuilding this.
It says, well, yeah, not specifically the statue, but they say we'll rebuild the town. Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying it's something I would like us to watch post this book.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah. We got to find those Easter eggs where they occur. So
And I like you to just keep an eye out for Tall Paul. Okay, so I'm gonna segue then to my actual like deep thoughts. It's not really deep thoughts as opposed to deep feelings. That image of the men frozen in the sandbagging line, right? Like just the picture of all of the men standing there, the sandbags forgotten, watching in horror as their town sank. Can you imagine watching like the death of your town after you had been trying to, and there's just nothing they can do?
Yeah, you can't keep.
I feel for them, you know.
Yeah, I think that's one of those natural disaster type feelings. I mean, if you're standing in New Orleans after Katrina goes through, and you see that, I mean, I'm just using the proven example, but I mean, even currently,
I mean, the people who are literally in the Bahamas,
right?
As we record this,
and Hurricane Dorian's going on, and yeah, I mean, I think that's a very realistic thing. I think you nailed it. It's like, how can you not feel for them? Or the earthquakes in Haiti several years ago, and it just destroyed all of these cities and all of these lives. And like, what can you possibly do? Even after it's done, you're looking, you're like, what? Like, how do we even move forward from this? Like, nope, not stopping this train. Yeah, that was a well described moment, I'll say.
Yeah, and I'm glad that Harold Gardner was one that was at least smart enough or sharp enough to be like, I gotta go.
Mm.
You know, he was of this story one of the good guys. You know, and glad to see that one of the good guys of Derry actually survived.
And here's to Harold.
A good family.
Yeah, good family. Exactly. All right. Anything else on the downfall of Derry?
I had no notes. There was a lot of quick scenes that are interesting. I didn't have anything to say about them.
Nothing. Yeah, there really wasn't much. So all right. So we're gonna move on to section 4. Bill. We're back down in its lair, and Bill comes to, or yes, this is Bill had come back. I'm sorry. Did Bill already wake Richie up at the end of, or he was carrying Richie?
He was carrying Richie. This is as he's dragging Richie away from the corpse of it.
We're unsure if Richie's alive or dead. Now, Luke, at this point, did you think Richie might be a goner?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I just didn't. I don't know. At this point, the only person I was still worried about was Mike. In all honesty,
okay.
That's where I was with it.
Fair. So Bill's dragging Richie back, and he's approached by Ben, who finds him in the dark. Ben tells him that he took out the spider's nest, and they head back to Beverly, who's still sitting there holding Eddie,
doing nothing.
And they get Audra down from the rafters and head out of the lair.
How is she still alive? Like, she was dragged probably by the hair by Tom down through God knows what. She was hung from the ceiling and then dropped at least how many tens of feet, right? At least probably 30, 40, 50 feet minimum. How is she not dead? Everybody else is. Audra should be dead. Sorry, personal opinion. Moving on.
I don't remember the description of her falling. Like, I just remember how it was described.
It was Beverly, while sitting there, being really productive in her holding of the dead Eddie, was watching her swing lower, and she was basically bungee jumping from
the strands, the webs.
Yes, that were dropping and not, and dropping will not, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. To quote Aladdin, you'd be surprised what you could survive. But yeah, it's my only note on this section was, so they go out the door and they leave Eddie just outside the door. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Just leave him in the goddamn room. It just bothered me. Why you carry him out just past the door? And I don't know. I see your point. I've actually always really liked that, because they can't carry Audra and Eddie, and stupid Audra's still alive, so you have to pick one of them.
right? So what are you going to do? Well, it's like he's guarding the door. You know what I mean? To me, and not that it ever says that. I'm totally just putting my own little headcanon on it. So you go right ahead, be annoyed. I'm like, I can get behind you on that. But for me, it was just they're leaving him to be like the guard.
The watchers on the wall.
Yeah, right. And now his watch has begun, sort of.
I guess my headcanon on it was, I don't know how real that room is at all in general. Like, as soon as they go through that door, I feel like they're in the lair of it. Funhouse. I mean, none of that could be real. I mean, it could fundamentally just not be there. And so bringing him back out into, I guess, a true reality area, which there's other thoughts on what's reality in general anyway. But, like, I think bringing him out of that allows him to be dead in his own world, I guess, is how I was looking at it.
Okay. And I'm okay with both of those answers. I'm not against it. You got two other guys. Oh, Bill can carry Audra. Audra's 120 pounds. They already said that, or they say that coming up. And, but you have two other guys, carry Eddie out. You know what? Myra maybe deserves to bury her husband. I understand what you guys are saying, and I don't disagree. You're not incorrect. I don't know.
And you're not either.
Oh, I know.
I guess my question would be, should they have just decided from the get-go not to bring him at all, or try to go further with him? Like, do you think they should have not wasted the energy at all to try to get him out?
I would have been fine with either option. Had they just left him in the lair, done. Because they just automatically can't. But you've already proven you can drag him that far. He's not that big. He's a wisp of a man,
I don't know. That one, I think, it took so much effort, and I know I'm jumping. It took so much effort from all of them, except Beverly, who did nothing. All of them to carry Audra out.
Really?
They would have had to have abandoned Eddie somewhere.
You're right. And they would have. They would have.
You abandoned him in the lair and not even bring him out the door. Do you at least bring him out the door as the symbolic watcher at the door? I mean, that's to me, leaving him there was better than dragging him halfway and then having to abandon him somewhere
next to the skeletons of the bullies
in a random pipe. At least he's somewhere symbolic. I don't know.
No, that's completely fair. So I'm still not going to concede my point that it's annoying,
I was just curious.
I agree with you. Yeah. It's annoying. I can give you that, but
but no, I do understand your points, and you're right. I mean, I do get it. It's just, I don't know.
It's a thing.
Yeah,
it sure happened.
So, Melissa, I'm sorry I didn't see your first note, but if you want to go with that real quick, because that is a funny quip.
So as Bill is dragging the comatose or unconscious Richie, right, and he's like, come on, Richie, wake up. And finally he runs into Ben, and Ben's like, God damn it, wake up, screaming in his face. Even coming back from unconsciousness, Richie does a voice, right? Mm-hmm. He can't just be Richie. He has to come out with a voice. And
Poncho Vanilla.
And up until this read, the 10 years we've been reading this book together on this show, but whatever, 18 months, whatever it's been, until this read, Richie bugged the shit out of me. He just annoyed me. And now I think he's my favorite.
He's a good dude.
Just smart and witty, and to have enough wherewithal to be able to pull a voice as you're floating back up from being knocked out was pretty good.
Well, Melissa, to that point, there's a great story about a voice actor named Mel Blanc, one of the greatest voice actors of all time. He was in a cataclysmic, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck. He was in a cataclysmic car accident that left him in a coma for 2 weeks. Everybody tried talking to him, getting him out. Finally, one doctor walks in and goes, "Hey, Bugs, how are you feeling today?" "Not so hot, doc." And literally, he goes, "Really? How's Tweety Bird?" "I thought Woody Tat." And literally took the voices to coax Mel out of his coma that he'd been in for 2 weeks. So I do like that line too, because that acting and that just internalization is just a great story. And I like the tie-in to Richie there.
All right. Can we talk about the mark on the door?
Yes.
Okay. I have always really enjoyed the fact that the mark was gone.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that was a really good moment, and I appreciate it because to me, that's when I finally started believing it really might possibly, for real this time, be dead. It wasn't until it was gone the first time I read this, I was like, okay, okay, maybe they really pulled it off. I still don't really know. I'm still nervous about 2012 Derry, but like, it's possible.
I think that's pretty reasonable. I mean, I guess that the way I looked at it, it was more of like a subconscious. Yeah, I definitely just believe he's dead, and I looked at that mark as being just a projection from it as kind of one of the final obstacles to get into, like we have talked about over the last 2 chapters, I believe. And so as soon as that wasn't there, that was like another nail in the coffin for me, believing that it was no longer with us, the dearly departed Pennywise.
Dearly departed.
And Melissa, just a quick correction. We still have 3 years till the 37th year. But no, wait, 27. Never mind.
27.
Yeah, but fail.
I did math already.
I know. Fail on my part. Sorry. I was thinking it was 37 years. I'm like, wait, no, it's 22. Okay, never mind.
2012.
I'm an idiot. Anyway, all right. Anything else on the door or that section there, Luke?
Nope.
All right. Then we're going to move on to section 5, Derry, 10:30 a.m. And we learn of the glass corridor of the library coming down.
It's just sad. It's just sad to me. Like, that's it. This was such a bittersweet little paragraph section of just like, it exploded. And like, and the fact that it was like, it was never rebuilt. Perhaps only if Ben himself could have really told them how it was to stand outside in the still cold of a January night, your nose running, the tips of your fingers numb inside your mittens, watching the people pass back and forth inside, walking through winter with their coats off and surrounded by light. He could have told them, but maybe that wasn't the sort of thing you could have gotten up and testified about in a city council meeting. Like, here we are in the middle of this hugely devastating chapter, and he spends this time discussing like the loss of an inanimate object that only mattered to Ben.
Mm-hmm.
I really like it.
Yeah. I do too. And I like the last line of it. After May 31st of 1985, if you wanted to get from the children's library to the adult library, you had to walk outside to do it. And if it was cold or raining or snowing, you had to put on your coat. And coming from a guy who grew up in Maine from Stephen King, that's one of those things like, God, this sucks. I mean, I love this state. I write about it all the time, but the damn cold sucks. And you can just get that feeling from it, just from that one line. And I like that. My other note on this section was, in total, 67 total fatalities from the damage to the town. There's 69 in total from it, if you count Eddie and Tom, and 70 if you throw in Officer Nell's natural death, quote unquote. I'm sure there's probably others that could be attributed to it, but I'm just going by the total numbers that are literally listed here.
It does say at least. So
True.
Yeah, it leaves it a little open-ended on itself.
It does. Luke, did you have anything on?
Nope.
Yeah.
Another quick section. I liked the library edition. I liked getting some of the numbers. But, yep, not a whole lot else for me.
All right. So we're moving back into the tunnels for section 6, out 10:54 a.m., May 31st, 1985. And basically we get Bill, Bev, Ben, and Richie trying to work their way with Audra out of the tunnels. Melissa, or actually, I'll go with Luke here.
Yeah, I just liked that as Bill is struggling with getting Audra out, even though she lost the 20 other pounds and she's pretty light. Like, it's 120 pounds, carrying that in this tough obstacle course to get out. Like, and he's already exhausted. Like, I appreciate that Richie was just like, yeah, of course. Like, of course I'm going to help you out. And then Ben takes his turn. And then when they're finally getting out, Bill shoulders her again to, do the last leg of it. And it was just nice to see almost everyone pitching in on that.
Well, and that kind of goes to my point, because at the very end of the last Down Under the Tunnel section, Beverly says, "Don't worry, Bill, you'll know where to go." And then the very first thing out of her mouth is, "Bill, do you know where you're going?" Literally,
And she says it like 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, now you're questioning him. It's like, come on. That really bothered me.
I think some of the times where it's not necessarily her saying it, it's him remembering her saying it. Because there's a couple times it happens in parentheses.
Okay. All right.
It happened more than once out loud. It was frustrating. I will say, okay, I'm trying really hard to just let it go, but it's not really working. I don't really need to hear about her Audra's weight. I don't really think that's necessary. Like, oh well, but she lost weight for a role, so she's only 120. Dude, 120 pounds is not really healthy for a grown ass woman. I'm just saying. So like, it really bothers me that that much emphasis has been put on a woman's weight, because if she had been a man, nobody would have said a damn thing about her weight.
I absolutely think that's what would have come up of like, oh, and he weighed 200 pounds, and guess what? It's fucking heavy after a while. Like, even if you can shoulder it.
Like, it's all gonna be heavy, so who cares? Like, I don't know. Like I said, I tried to let it go. It didn't work. I have said my piece.
Okay.
I like the whole female weight thing. She's a grown ass woman, god damn it. So like, she's gonna be heavy. I don't care how big or little she is, because she's a fucking adult. That's
True.
all.
I
That's
do
all.
appreciate how it was brought up in that aspect, because being his or her husband, Bill knows that she had to do this for a role, and will know the specifics of the weight she needed to get down to for, you know, these scenes and everything. And so in his head, it makes sense for him to think of it that way. I don't disagree with you that it doesn't need to be actually verbalized in
None
the
of it
book.
needs to be there. None of it needs to be there. I think it's dumb, but I
But-
guess it's also written 40
Yeah.
years ago, so whatever.
Yeah. So, all right, Luke, what's your next part here? Tribe here.
It's kind of when they start getting out, and they start realizing that a lot of downtown Derry had sunk. Right, they start getting some evidence that that's going on, and I really like the line of, I think most of downtown Derry is now in the canal and being carried down the Kenduskeag River. Pretty soon it'll be in the Penobscot, and then it will be in the Atlantic Ocean. And good fucking riddance. Like, it's just kind of clearing away some of the nastiness, and I liked that. It's kind of, and there's a reference earlier in this section about Georgie's boat, and there was like, hey, there were certain things that would float away just like Georgie's boat did, never to be seen again in Derry. So I just kind of like that closure on some of those kind of ideas of these landmarks in Derry, and how it's just all been, I don't know, festered and infested with it, and how it's just kind of, it needs to be washed away. Like, this is a cleansing, right? You have to get rid of the evil wholesale.
Yeah. And right before they had seen all that, or the one thing that started this whole off, Melissa, you have that note there. They see something in the tunnels.
They find Back to the Future, and which is the best movie of 1985. So I'm really glad the Aladdin had been able to show it. I hope some people got to watch it before the Aladdin was destroyed, but I'm pretty excited that my movie was referenced.
1 second, please.
Sounds like someone's going to challenge the best movie of 1985.
No, oh no, I'm not challenging the best movie. Oh, I absolutely agree with that statement.
I'm not wrong. I know this.
You know, oh yeah, no, yeah. There's no doubt in that one. My problem is Back to the Future was released on July 3rd, 1985.
Oh.
Is a screening, right?
It's a screening. It's a special. It's the coming soon, maybe.
It actually could be. Like,
Okay.
it really could be, right?
I give it that, but like I'm more than positive Back to the Future came out over 4th of July weekend in 1985. I've watched the documentaries and stuff, and so when I started thinking about that, I'm like, wait a second, this is May 31st, but it could be on the coming soon.
There you go. That's okay. Headcanon. It says coming soon. Back to the Future.
Exactly.
Yeah, nothing here goes against that. I just reread that. There's nothing here specifically says that, oh, and people had been in the theater watching it. Like, no, it's the sign, coming soon, premiering soon. Yeah, okay.
Coming to theaters 4th of July weekend.
Right. Because what's the date of this day again?
May 31st.
Okay, so it's a month out, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
absolutely reasonable.
It is very reasonable, you know. Now, if it was like 6 months out, it would have been called The Man from Mars, coming soon, The Man from Mars, because it was a late change to call Back to the Future. But a month out, I think they would have been set on that one.
All right. I feel
Okay.
better about this. I'm happy. I'm happy with this.
I am too. Good. Whew, I was a little worried.
Nice job, Stephen.
All right.
We are the worst.
Hey, if you're gonna like name drop yes, as Melissa said, the greatest movie of 1985, and literally one of my favorite trilogy of all time, you better be close, and you're close enough.
That is like
I know another brother of ours that would completely agree with that.
It's the greatest trilogy of all time. Anyway, that's a topic for another show. Luke, I think you got one more note.
Do I?
Yeah.
I just want to reference the Survivor scene. I know we'll be talking about it again here in a little bit. But it was a nice scene when they pop their heads out and Bill pulls Bev out and they have a nice little scene together. So we'll revisit here in a little bit.
Well, no, that's the same thing because it's from the newspaper clipping.
I know. Oh, we'll revisit it here shortly.
Okay, because we're moving on to the next section.
We're good.
Okay, just making sure. So the next section is 7, Derry later the same day. Basically, after the glass corridor had exploded, the rain stopped. It didn't taper off. It just stopped. And, they kind of go on to another long paragraph here. I'm trying to recall exactly what it was for my note, because I basically have the town was almost eating itself.
This is where they have the racetrack going on, right?
Yeah.
And the news reporters start showing up, and
but he describes what happens before the news reporters come.
Yes.
And that's when, this is where King is at his absolute finest. We don't care about any of these people. We don't know any of these people. These are not our people. But in a matter of a few sentences, he is able to draw the collective deer in headlights of an entire town. Not sure where to go, not sure what to do, not sure how to even think of this as real until the media tells them that it's been real, even though they lived through it.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly how I think I would feel. You don't know what to do or how to wrap your brain around it or how to move forward until it's validated for you.
Some outside confirmation.
Yes, this was a big deal,
Yeah.
And I feel like normally Derry would not get this attention. I feel like it only does because it was actually taken out this time.
Yeah,
right? Because it has that media bubble around it.
No, definitely.
And that's why they finally recognized that this was a big deal, because they're used to the ignoring and the walking around and just sort of letting it pass by them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I like Andrew Keene getting out his famous "Suck it, Spielberg" line onto national television.
Eat your heart out.
Yeah. Suck it, Trebek.
Suck it, Trebek.
All right, Luke, you got something there.
We just had a reference to more deaths occurring over the next couple days, because they say later that same day, but I think it also kind of talks about the next couple of weeks, in all honesty. Mm-hmm. And just more deaths were kind of tallied up, and that's also very typical of a major event like this, of you have your initial counts, but then guess what, more people die of starvation or being trapped, and you don't realize it, then you find them later on, and that's a real thing. It's not, now that it's passed, it's done, and that's just the end of it. It's no, there's fallout from things like this, and that's dangerous, right? So I like that they touch on that. And he also gets into the idea of people abandoning Derry. There's a lot of people that start moving out, and I don't blame them. I mean, maybe it's going to be better from here on out, but they don't know that. I mean, you're looking around this town that's been growing a lot in the past 27 years, right? I mean, it's Bill hardly even recognized it. And so a lot of people who've been there are probably doing really well now because they were maybe in on the ground floor of these burgeoning companies, or they're new people who are like, there's a lot of opportunity here. And guess what? The entire downtown district is no more. I'm not going to see this through. I'm just going to leave. I get it. That's kind of reasonable. So.
Absolutely agreed. That's fair. All right. So we're going to move on to section 8, no title. Basically, Audra is rushed in an ambulance, and the remaining crew kind of meander about. So, Luke, go ahead with your first note there.
So Richie flags down an ambulance, right, and basically just chucks Audra's body into this overpacked ambulance. Good on him. Nice job. Got the job done. And
she's small enough. She won't take up much room.
Yeah, no, she doesn't weigh much. It's fine. And then it says, "Now what?" Ben asked. There were huge brown circles under his eyes and a grimy ring of dirt around his neck. "I'm going back to the townhouse," Bill said. "Gonna sleep for about 16 hours. Bill, I don't care how you fucking get there. I don't care that you're tired. I don't care that you just saved the fucking world. Go to the hospital with your goddamn wife. Like, come on.
In his defense, she won't notice.
It doesn't matter. Go and actually see that she gets checked in, then take a nap. That's like, come on. I just was like, really? You're gonna go and just go take a nap? Like,
It's not like she had ID with her either, so they could check her in. They left her purse at the.
Oh, man. He had her purse at minimum. Like, I don't remember if they actually left it, but at least it's either there or he has it with him.
Wait, maybe that's what Beverly's been doing the whole time.
She's been holding
Purse
the
monster.
purse. All right, you can feel better about it now, Melissa.
I don't.
No, because going into my note here, so a few lines down, it goes, "It's over," Bill said. Ben nodded. "We did it. You did it, Big Bill." "We all did it," Beverly said. No. There's no we in this discussion here, Beverly. You sat there and held a corpse. That is all you did this time. First time through, sure, you did great. Even Eddie jumped up and sprayed the damn thing with his asthma medicine, before he got knocked out. You did nothing except complain and question and sit there and meander. So
And purse hold, maybe.
And then she goes on to say, "I wish we could have brought Eddie up. I wish that more than anything. Why don't you offer to maybe help carry him? You're a fourth one standing there. Maybe throw in a little, hey, I'll take a shoulder."
Okay, so I have to tell you.
Anyway, I'm done. Off the high horse.
Full disclosure, I tend to get a little leery when you start bashing females in general, like just honest
Fair.
thing here, because sometimes I think we have very different opinions and views on how. I will say though, you are 100% correct on this one. Beverly was a giant waste of space.
And honestly, I attribute most of my thoughts to your previous comments from last episodes or so, talking about Beverly and how she's done nothing. And then this just stuck out to me like, oh my God, she has done nothing.
Literally nothing.
So,
You
yes.
sat there. Like, not that I'm sad that she lived. I mean, yay, I'm glad people lived. But, like, you could have gone and squished an egg. You could have caught Audra falling from the spider strings. Like,
Can I say, like, how easy it would have been? Very little changed the story, right? Tom wasn't already dead. She kills him instantly when they get down there.
something.
Right? Like,
Yes.
that would have changed no overall plot.
Nope.
I don't know. And if, because they came in prepared, and if she already had the idea that he was going to be down there, so she would have been okay. And if he would have been messed up or something, and then, I think that could have worked out.
And I say this as a huge Stephen King fan and as somebody who thinks Stephen King does typically write women really, really well. I don't think Beverly was a well-written woman.
She was a very well-written girl.
Yes.
Yeah, I do. But and maybe it's Beverly's fault for the way she grew up and matured and didn't whatever. But like the tough girl we saw grew up into kind of a pansy-ass woman.
And never, like, a lot of them changed, and maybe we'll talk about this more like after everything, but like in general, a lot of them reverted back to who they were. She didn't, but like there were cool things that she did like early on, like when she took on Tom and got out. Like there were cool things, but like it didn't really build from there, did it? It just kind of stayed.
She whereas Richie grew on me, she went the other way.
Diminished.
Yeah, I mean, I will say
she's going to go to the west.
Try on the 4 that survived down there. You know what I mean? If you had to pick a 4 that were going to make it back out, those would be the 4.
Pretty safe choices.
Yeah,
but she didn't earn it like she did when she was a kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, Beverly.
Well said. So we move on. We're walking down the street, and they run into, as I mentioned earlier, an old friend. Luke, who was that?
Skateboard kid. And this time what's he doing, Benj? He's
chasing a boat.
Chasing a little paper boat, right? Down very similar to old Georgie. And
hang on, I got to see what street. Were they on Canal Street, Upper Main, Point? Okay, Upper Main and Point. No, because Georgie was on Canal Street, right?
I don't think Canal Street exists anymore at this point.
Okay, yeah, no.
Because
I would assume that's the one that goes right over the canal, and that's.
He was at the intersection of Witcham and Jackson. That's where. That's where Georgie
was. Witcham and Jackson. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. And they were at Upper Main and Point Streets. I was just wondering how close to whatchamajacks, or how close to that they were.
Like, were they?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, he's chasing a boat down.
Yeah,
You know?
I just thought it was nice. And then Bill kind of calls out to him, and he's like, "Hey, it's gonna be all right now. You know, we're good." And then he says, "Are you gonna be careful on that skateboard?" And the kid says, "Not really." And it's just a nice little scene between those two characters. And I think it's almost a little bit of closure because he's very much a Georgie step in kind of reversion, and we've talked about that before. And even Bill feels that, you know, he's like, he restrained an urge to ruffle the kid's hair, but he decided that would probably be resented and didn't do it. So I just thought it was a nice little thing.
Repeat.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, all right, they make it towards the townhouse now, and I'll go with or go ahead, Melissa, with what you have
Well,
thought
I'm
there.
really glad that somebody, namely Ben, but somebody remembered, oh wait, we have another friend. Maybe we should let him know what happened. Like, let's call Mike. Oh yeah, Mike, that guy. Let's see how he's doing. Let's let him know we're not dead. I don't know. Thanks, Ben.
Right.
Good remembering.
Ben is very thoughtful in
Yes.
general. So
He's a good guy.
what a good dude. Yeah,
Everybody
and
should be like that.
I want to be like Ben. And kind of towards the very end there, they start walking into the townhouse and they're laughing, and Bev looks at and catches their reflections, right? And it basically says only there were 6, not 4, because Eddie was behind Richie and Stan was behind Bill. And with that little half smile on his face. So to me, that was, at least at this point, pretty much confirmation that Mike is fine. It's similar to what Melissa said earlier about the mark not being on the door earlier was kind of a confirmation that it was truly dead. This was kind of a confirmation that at least right now, who knows if he's going to die from his wounds, bleeding out, whatever. Mike is still alive.
Yeah. See, and like the first time through on our read through this time, listening to, I'm like, what the fuck, Bev? You know, no Mike there to imagine, and like not reading into it that much with it. As and I like your thought process on that. Means Mike's fine.
Yeah, he's alive. Like
He's alive. That's
those
all
are
there is.
ghost reflections.
Yeah. So, all right. Anything else for that section from anyone? Okay. Then we're going to go to the final section of this part, which is 9 Out Dusk, August 10th, 1958.
Which is not another orgy, thank God.
There are some fluids exchanged, though.
Oh God, that's true. Please continue.
Anyway, so they make it out, and Stan decides, without saying a word, to head over to the creek bed or whatever, find a Coke bottle, and break it, using the glass to solidify themselves. Melissa, what's your thoughts here?
We finally get to see the scene where they make their wrist cut blood promise. We have been hearing about this since chapter 3, 6 phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
We have talked about the scars on their wrists since chapter 3. Here we are, 20 chapters and 5,000 pages and 79 million hours later. And we finally get to find out what happened there. So that's nice.
Yeah, and like I said, I thought it was nice that it was all kind of silent. Stan just broke the bottle, walked up to Bill, and Bill just says, "Yeah, both," and holds his hands out to be cut.
Mm-hmm.
And they end up, the pact is sealed, you know, and sealed with blood. Luke, what are you have the most here, so
I do. They're
go for
all
it.
honestly like just the last couple paragraphs, just a couple quick notes. We see Stan faltering. He's the last person to say that he swears that he'll come back, even though this was kind of his thing. We know that he doesn't make it back. There's also the reference again to there'll never be a time where all 7 of them are together again. Maybe it's 4, sometimes it's 3, sometimes maybe even 5 or 6, but this was, as far as we know, the last time that all 7 of them were together. So a couple, there's things that not surprising because we know that to be true, but it's just very aware of itself. The story is, and there's also an interesting Bill kind of hangs back after everyone heads back home, I guess. And it basically reads, he's the last to go. He stands for a long time with his hands on the rickety white fence, looking down into the barrens as overhead the first stars seed the summer sky. He stands under the blue and over the black and watches the barrens fill up with darkness. That is a reference to a line that's been mentioned in probably almost half of the chapters, out of the blue and into the black, which was also in, when there's at the beginning of sections or chapters, there's quotations that influence that. I believe chapter 1 the entire book opens up with like 4 or 5 quotations, and that one by Bruce Springsteen is one of them. And so this is a bit of a tie back through there, and I just look at this as, hey, he's standing under the blue, so he's in good place and looking down into the black, which was badness, but they've made it back out of the black is how I look at that. So that's just a line that's, again, been referenced so many times, and this was a slight variation on that. And the very last lines of this chapter, and I guess the last chapter in the book, technically, after a block or two, he begins to walk faster, thinking of supper. And a block or two after that, he begins to whistle. To me, it just seems like he's already starting to forget things. Like it's like almost instantaneous that now that the job is done, the lack of memory starts fading as we saw it come back through the earlier parts of this book. So that, or he's a kid, and that's one of the benefits, is he can get over things real quick. So I think either way, it's a nice little, and guess what? He didn't dwell on it, and it didn't like make him go into a spiraling depression for the next 3 years. Like, it was a nice little way of wrapping that whole section up.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And one other line that stuck out to me at the very end there was, I never want to play down there again. He thinks suddenly and is amazed to find that the thought is not terrible or distressing, but tremendously liberating. And it ties well into the out of the blue, or over the blue, or under the blue and under the black line, because it's, they're done, and he doesn't have to worry about it. So now we're going to move on to a section we titled Questions for the New Reader. I came up with one as going through late with these notes, and it's with this line. I can't give you eternal life, but I can touch you, and you will live long lives, 200 years, 300 years, perhaps 500 years. I can make you gods of the earth. If you let me go, you let me. If you let me. Could it have really given them those extended lives? And would it have included Ben and Bev with that deal?
I believe that it probably could do that. I don't know. I believe that it probably could, and because this is literally its last leg to stand on, and we know it can do some incredible things. It's been there for in Earth years, essentially forever, and I think it probably could.
I don't think it would.
That was going to be the follow-up question. Do you think it would actually hold true to the deal?
I think there's a way that they could work that out. If Bill still took the heart but didn't destroy it, kind of a Davy Jones locker type issue. Where it holds the heart ransom kind of thing. I think that's a realistic option, because it was still alive with the heart torn out. It was still thumping, whack, whack, whack. And I feel like it could live without the heart intact, because it's all symbolism in general. So I think they could work it out. And Bill would be at the point where he could think through that. If that was truly the path that he wanted to go down, I think he could force that issue, and he would force the other ones to be included too.
Fair. Okay. So our next section is questions from the new reader, or thoughts from the new reader. Luke, looks like you got something there.
No chance Ben got all those spider eggs. I just feel like one of them got away. It just, not that it's like the next it. I don't think it's more of like I called it earlier, like a Pandora's box. Like it gets out, scuttles away, and creates havoc somewhere else. So I just imagine like at least one got away to be an evil somewhere else, and I don't know. I don't look at it as a direct spawn clone of Pennywise. Like I don't think there's another exact one of those, but it's just an evil that escaped. You can't kill all the evil, and for how much of a hive this really seemed like it was, kind of a linchpin of evil. I don't think he got them all personally.
Fair. So it could be the next The.
Oh, I was thinking it was, well, I mean, it's inevitable, right, Luke? It's inevitable that he missed one, therefore it must be Thanos.
Maybe. I'm not that far.
None of you have. Never mind.
Sorry.
Marvel.
Other people who are listening will get my reference in last, so thank you to those people.
See,
And
I was
by
gonna
those people,
say-
I mean AK.
and maybe it's not it too, but maybe it's the them,
Ooh, that's
Well,
interesting.
which
See, I
is
was-
which is literally led by the Antichrist. So
Nice. Well, I was actually gonna go with the play words of maybe it jumped from Stephen King to John Carpenter and became the Thing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
maybe it's just
They're
Uncle
very
Fester,
similar, very similar creature, spider-esque, face sucker.
or maybe it really just they end up at Hogwarts and Professor Lupin catches one in his cupboard, in his wardrobe.
Becomes best friends with Hagrid.
It literally just is a boggart.
It's a
There's a
boggart.
bunch of boggarts got out. It wasn't an issue before 1985.
This is how boggarts were created. Where's Newt Scamander when you need him?
There we go. Oh, that does break it because we have contextual evidence that boggarts were around before this book. So anyway,
Fair. All right. So, okay, we are moving on to our favorite things. I'm going to start with mine. Far fucking out. Steven Spielberg, eat your heart out. Andrew, I'm blanking on his name
Keane.
now. Keane, thank you, Andrew Keane. He, it was just it was funny, kind of a lighthearted kind of thing. And yeah, the line that everybody has highlighted, apparently, that I didn't realize that's what that meant, still stands out, with the cataclysmically stoned. As children and drunks survive. It's funny. So I liked it. Luke, what was your favorite thing?
Regardless of her weight, I liked the teamwork of getting Audra out. I thought it was good of Ben and Richie to just, no questions asked, pitch in because that's the right thing to do. And yeah, I just thought it was a good working together because this is the last thing that they really have to do. But Bill, go to the fucking hospital. Come on.
All right, Melissa, what's your favorite thing?
The caption was simple enough and true enough for Bill to cut the picture out and keep it tucked away in his wallet for years to come. Survivors, the caption read. That was all, but that was enough. I just like that. Because that's it. And the town and the media does it like, oh, they survived the town. But no, like they survived more than you can possibly imagine. And the only thing they get is that they survived. There's no award. There's no recognition. There's no... you don't get anything for killing it. You just get to survive. And I like that.
And that was enough.
Yeah. So, all right, that wraps us up for this episode. Make sure you join us on social medias, on Twitter at floatsdownhere. Send us a digital balloon at floatsdownhere@gmail.com. Make sure you check out all of our other shows at thepodcastthat.com. Subscribe and rate us on iTunes.
This show and all of our shows at thepodcastthat.com are produced with the love and support of our wonderful Imaginary Legion patrons. Be sure to join us on September 22nd for our autumnal State of the Legion address. We will be streaming live on our The Podcast That YouTube channel. Tune in to see who wins the first Primus Pilot giveaway exclusively to Patreon members. Not a patron? Join the Imaginary Legion between now and September 21st, and you could have one or more entries in the giveaway. Find out more at patreon.com/stayimaginary.
And make sure you join us next time for our penultimate book episode, Derry, the Last Interlude. You'll float too.
Stay imaginary.
Thanks.